you have any tips for future franchisees? And if there was anything you could do differently, what would you have done?
I think from me, sorry, Hanri. If there's one tip that I can give is to not take anything at face value. To just always ask as many questions as you can, like, because you're always going to get a builder or a lawyer or doesn't matter who it is telling you something, and you just you should never just go with it. You should always say, listen, I don't understand what this means. Can you please explain it to me? And they should explain it to you so that you can understand it. And you need to feel comfortable with it, because we didn't know a lot of these things, and a lot of times we just kind of went with it, and ended up paying our school fees with Holloway and making very expensive mistakes by not asking those questions. So ask a billion questions. Like, a question is never a stupid question when you open your own business. So that would be my piece of advice. In terms of what I would have done differently, I think in hindsight, we could have obviously saved a lot more money if we did, if we used a contractor that was experienced with the brand. The contractor we used to do our fit out, at the time we didn't really think it's necessary, but in hindsight it is. I think for our next studio, we're using somebody that's very experienced with F45. He's fitted out most of the London studios. He knows exactly how it works. Like, the guy we used didn't. So I think that's something I would have done differently.
Mm-hmm. I think another thing is, I think you can always negotiate a bit better and harder with the landlord, because we kind of, with this one, we just accepted what they gave us. We negotiated a little bit, but not hard enough. And then for the next one, we are getting a much better rent-free period. We're getting a capital contribution, stuff like that, which we didn't get for the previous one. And then, I think just do your research before, because I think with us, by the time we got to Holloway and found this site, we were quite just desperate to open, because it took us quite a while to find a site. Like, finding a site in London can be challenging. But we probably should have done more tests and more research before going with the site, because things like acoustics are quite expensive. Yeah. And that's something that's a big part of your budget. It can take anything from 50 to 100 grand. And if you have residential units above you and stuff, it's not worth the headache. I'd rather be certain of the site and make sure what you're getting yourself in for.
It is a difficult decision to make for some people, because they need to spend £2,000, £4,000 before they even have the site. I completely appreciate that, but in hindsight, by us not doing that, it cost us so much more. Like, it was insane how much money we had to spend. We had, because we didn't have proper soundproofing, we had the residents above us on our case all the time. We had an abatement notice. We had the council through our door a million times. It wasn't pleasant.
That was our fault, because we didn't do enough research before we opened. And that's something you can avoid. So that was probably our most expensive lesson to learn from this, was acoustics. So for the next one, even though we're all going ahead with it, we've done our acoustic testing and everything in advance. We've worked that into our budget. There's no surprises with that. And I think, like Renè said, Holloway was our school fees. And I think that's part of the reason why we do want to open the next one, because we have so much experience now and we won't make those same mistakes again. So this one already is turning out quite differently. Like I said, I managed to get a really good deal with the landlord and stuff like that. So there's so many things you can do differently, which hopefully we can do now. So so that's why we feel like we have to open another one to fix our mistakes.